Hello, and welcome back to day 7. And today we are in Santorini, and we had another bright and early morning start. So, this is the view outside of our deck, and we woke up probably around 5 o'clock and went and ate breakfast at Cabanas. I don't have any pictures, videos of anything of that, but we tried to make sure that we ate a good breakfast before we got off the ship. So this day was a little bit different than the others. So we actually had to get on a tender boat, which is what we are on right now, to go to the port. So any cruise ships, and you will be able to see another one right over there on your left side, and any cruise ships that come to Santorini have to go by tender. So you can see that long walkway going up. You have two options to get up to Santorini. You can walk up those thousands of stairs, I believe it is. You can go up the cable car, or you can get a donkey to take you up the stairs or back down. So as you can see, everyone got off at the same time, and there's kind of a long line trying to get to the cable car because I don't know of very many people who wanted to walk up those stairs. And that is also including the other cruise ships because they are getting off at the same time we are. So after waiting about 20 minutes to get to this part where we're actually going to line up to get on the cable car, we were able to purchase the tickets for about €6 a person, and that was only one way. So you had to pay €6 a person, I believe, on the way back as well. So in these little cable cars, it looks like a Skyliner on like the Disney World, and I think it would fit about 6 people if I'm not mistaken. And there was someone there, I believe, who was kind of organizing that and saying y'all go here, and it was just kind of a little line. And then here we are about to go up the cable car into Santorini. Once we got up to the top, we immediately started looking around because we had about 30 minutes before our tour started, and of course we saw the donkeys first thing. So there was a little store right next to the cable car exit, and we did go ahead and purchase some things there, and I'm really glad we did because I would not have wanted to do that when we got back, and you will see why in just a little bit. This is so pretty. Are they? Ew, it actually does. We can do that later today if you want to. What is that over there? That town with the steps. Yeah, what is that? I don't know. So we actually had an hour to explore the area right after you got off of the Skyliner or the cable car, and then you can see those lovely things that the donkeys left for you. So if you ever go to Santorini, just watch your step, especially if you feel like you're in an area that could have things like that. And I'm going to go into further detail in just a few seconds of everything that we done for the tour. I'm dying. So as you can see in that last clip, it was very hot, and our tour guide later said that this was actually the hottest day that had been the entire year. So we really picked a good day to come on this day, and it got even hotter later. So we did get into our little Sprinter Mercedes van. It was a very, very nice van. And we did find this tour through a Facebook group called the Disney Mediterranean group. I'll try to link that below as well. But that little Facebook group is run by this person who is very, very knowledgeable and has taken multiple cruises in Europe and through that. So he actually went on this tour, I believe, at some point, I guess on a prior cruise. So in this Facebook group, multiple people have posted trip reviews, what tours they use, asking for advice for their kids or whatever. It can get annoying a little bit, as is, any Facebook group, but it's actually a very good group, and it's got a lot of information if you will just go through and look. That Facebook group is actually how I found every tour that we used on this trip. So the name of the website is actually Santorini Tours, and I know if you type that in Google, you're going to have a lot of different options, and I'm going to include the link to the tours in the description box below. And I booked this back in March, so for us to be leaving like June, I believe this was 5th, I believe, they were pretty quick to answer and actually still had availability, so we were very lucky. Right now we're in, is it Oya or something, OIA? I think they said, the tour person said that this is where the blue-topped churches are. So this is what we're doing right now. I've already got a notification that my phone is out of storage. So I gotta figure that out. But that's all. We're going. So for the next few minutes, I'm just going to show a lot of the stores that we saw on the way to the Blue Dome churches, and you can see the amount of people here was just a little too much for me to handle. So we were obviously there when another cruise ship and possibly another cruise ship, I believe, was there as well. So a lot of people, not to mention all the other tourists that were just in Santorini on this day. So very busy, and our tour guide actually knew that guy who was sitting there with the swords, and I think he was just there for a photo op. So our tour guide's name was George, and he was very good. He spoke English. He did have a little bit of an accent, but it was not any issue for us to understand him. So at the beginning, our tour was supposed to start at 9:30, and he was just a few minutes late, and that's kind of when panic started to set in for me, because I was like, oh no, what if it was just a scam and blah blah blah, like the worst case scenarios was going through my head. But he did show up and everything was well, so we got through that. And then this next clip is actually us going to where the photo op was of the Blue Dome churches, and you can see there is a long line and a lot of tour guides, people just standing there waiting for, I guess, their people to come back up. But it was very gorgeous, and it was another one of those moments that we were like, we're actually getting to see what Santorini is most popular for, and to me, like, one of the most photographic areas that we have been to at this point. So after fighting our way to the front to get a good picture, we kept going, and we saw some more churches and saw some more stores. So for me to put down Taormina a little bit in the last video where we were at port saying I don't really like shopping, I was a little upset because I didn't get to go shop, but most of it was kind of touristy stuff anyway, but I still would have liked to have seen a few stores. Today was more about exploring Santorini, and this honestly was one of my favorite days of the whole trip, and that's including like Rome and everything, because I felt like I truly was exploring Santorini rather than just seeing all the touristy traps and going to places that a lot of tourists were at. Which we obviously went on those touristy areas, but a lot of it was not. So this was one of my big regrets of the trip. I'm about to pick up this little tiny Blue Dome church, and it was about €7, and I'm really still upset that I did not buy that. We did get one later on at the monastery that we went to, but I'm still upset over that little tiny one. I think me and my mom both agreed we would have loved to have spent a little more time here to look at some of the stores, even though, like I said, some of it was a little touristy, but that would have been okay. I also just wish that we had more time in Santorini in general, because I felt like while we did see a lot of the high points in Santorini, there was still so much that we could have seen. So that was that guy that our tour guide knew, and they were talking Greek to each other. And then we just kept exploring through the town and was making our way back to the van so we could go on to the next location, which was this. Another Blue Dome Church. We did get another picture there, and you'll see that in just a minute. But this was a little less calmer and not as many people were there. So we did look around a little bit more. I wish I could have got some of that fruit with the little Greek flag, and then we went over to this area.
So this is Thirasia, is another island. Before the eruption, everything was one. Everything. And the volcano, everything was one.
Including this?
Yes. It was a round island. The name was Strogili. Strogili means round. So after the eruption, it's separated. They gave this name Thirasia and this Thira. Thira and Thirasia. But Thira, they call it also Thira. Yeah. Okay. A lot of names. So.
This is so pretty. So I know I've said this several times in this video, but Santorini was absolutely beautiful. If me and my mom had the chance, we would go back to Santorini in a minute. The only thing that we would do differently was maybe go on our own rather than go on a cruise ship. If we were to go back on a cruise ship, there would probably be a few different things. But there you can see the Dream is off in the distance, so that kind of shows you where we were in regards to the island. I wonder how much that is. You almost ran into it. And then it was time to start walking back to the van, so you can see the sweat on that guy's back in a few seconds, but it was burning up. I'm going to say that again, but Santorini was so beautiful. We loved it, and me and my mom decided that we would definitely come back to Santorini, just maybe not on a cruise ship. I felt like we weren't really rushed because the tour guide was basically going to do whatever we wanted to do. We did end up leaving the tour early and just saying, hey, take us back to where we can go back to the cable car line. And we were very glad that we chose to do that because of the line, and I'll get to that later. But I really felt like Santorini, we really dove into the culture, and we got to see a lot of things that probably people who were on the Disney excursions would not see. And I'm not hating on the Disney excursions because, to be honest, the only one we've ever done was the one to Taormina. I just feel like having a personal driver, having a personal tour guide is the way to go. And this was actually a little bit cheaper. So we did pay a €50 deposit to the company, and then we had to pay €300 at the end in cash. So that ended up being €350 plus I believe we probably left like a €50 tip or more to the driver and the guide, which was the same guy. So after taking a quick look on the Disney Cruise website at all the excursions for Santorini, the only one that I could find that would probably be most like what we done was the Best of Santorini, and that was $450 a person, and you were going to be with a large group of no telling how many people. So for €350 and a tip, me and my mom had a personal driver, we had a personal van, we did not have to go with anyone that we didn't know. And we were told several facts, and if at any point on this tour we would have said, hey, can we go here or there, our tour guide would have been glad to have taken us there. So now we are actually walking to the bathroom. This is right outside of the monastery that he took us to, and you can see in just a few seconds the little change jar that you are to put money in to use the bathroom. So we did that, obviously. And these were the views from the monastery. You could see from basically one end of the island to the other, and it was absolutely beautiful. And in the monastery, I believe he said that they were Buddhist monks, maybe, I can't remember for sure, but they made these little souvenirs and you could buy them, and that's how they worked and operated their location there. And you could see some people who were working in the back, and I didn't want to film too much of this since it was some monastery, but it was very interesting and the views were absolutely gorgeous. So as we're leaving, I decided to start videoing their wall outside, which was out at their gate, and you can see little fish and crosses and words there in Greek. I have no idea what they said, but I thought it was really cool that it was like carved into the wall. So from there, he actually took us to one of my favorite parts of the day. So we were actually the only people here. So we did have to hike down a little bit, so my mom actually did not go, but it was called the Heart of Santorini, and again, you can see how beautiful the water was, how you can see the boats, the ships. Over there in the distance was actually the Dream, so it was so gorgeous, and also no people there, so that was another plus to being here. But we went down this little hill, and you can see the rocks, and you can see the little plants. I think he said that those plants off to the side were oregano. I did touch the plant and it did smell like some type of spice, so I thought that was really cool that it was just wild growing here, just randomly. But anyway, so we went down to the Heart of Santorini, and you can kind of see the terrain is a bit rocky, so I really would not recommend this to anyone. And there my mom was trying to go, but I would not recommend this to anyone who has some type of mobility issues, or make sure that you're wearing some pretty good shoes, because I felt like I was going to slip a few times. It was also very cool getting to see the rock formations and see the volcanic rock, and that's one of those wild plants. Like I said, I don't really know what it was, but kind of looked like sedum, which is a type of succulent, but I don't think it was. But it was just absolutely gorgeous up there. So here he was actually telling me the port where our cruise ship docks in and leaves from is actually the old port, and the one that has been used for a long time. I don't know exactly how long. And then right around the corner you can kind of see where there is like a boat stream. That is actually the new port, and that's where ferry boats come. But this is actually the Heart of Santorini. It's not really the shape of a heart, and he was kind of telling me that, but it is so beautiful. And look at that water again. It was just a view, and the Dream, of course. I don't really know what that was, but you could walk kind of down further there. We didn't do that, but seeing this was just really cool. So this actually may be my mom's first time seeing this when I post this video, because we just haven't had the time to go back and look at every single picture and everything. So after we left here, we got in the van and went to this little area. I don't know what it's called, but he was taking us to the underground caves. So these are the caves that they found and discovered. It was free to visit. We did have to walk a little bit through this little town area, which was fine. It was shaded and there was a little bit of a breeze, so it felt fine. But he did tell us that the caves that we were going to see were actually over 300 years old. So in a minute you'll be able to see that, but there is a very big noticeable temperature difference from being outside, and there you can see authentic traditional underground caves, free to visit. But the major temperature difference was wild, because outside it's obviously like 80-90 degrees outside, burning up hot. We walk in there and it feels like we've just walked into like some type of air conditioned room, and it is in like an odd location. Like I felt like all these people were living there in their little apartments or houses and stuff, and we were just intruding, because you can see they've got their laundry up. But I guess, you know, this is just where the caves were. I guess the caves were there before they were. And you can see walking in there, there's no lights. There obviously was not electricity back then when they had this. and they had not installed any lights in there because it was free to visit. But you can kind of see their cooking areas where they had their little rooms off to the side. And I believe he said that those utensils and bowls and everything were actually part from that era that this cave was originally lived in, if not the original things in there. So this cave was actually not that big. It was fairly big, I guess, for it to be an underground cave that people lived in, but I felt like it was a little on the smaller side, and I just kept waiting for like some type of raccoon or bat or something to just run out on us. But it was pretty decent size, actually. It wasn't just huge, but you can see it's kind of hard to tell in these videos because it was dark. But it was actually very interesting to go in there, and again, the temperature difference was a major shock. And you can also see like the type of rock. I don't really know if they like dug into this or it was already formed. So at this point it was about 1 o'clock, so I was getting hungry. We did stop and get me some gelato. My mom chose not to because she thought we were going to be eating lunch soon. But from there we drove over to, I believe it's called the Red Beach, and you'll see why it was called the Red Beach. And you can see the parking lot and how the mountainside, I believe it's like volcanic rock or something, in this little church, and you can see in just a minute how beautiful it is. So because my mom was very tired, she chose not to walk over here with me, but the water, look how blue and turquoise that is. It was just so beautiful. And then once I turned the corner, there's a little musician who was playing music, and you could see the Red Beach over there. I thought about walking all the way around to the Red Beach. I decided not to. I just kind of stopped and looked. But this is the music that he was playing while we were there. It just really added to the atmosphere and just really made me think like, wow, I'm actually in Greece right now. There's a beach over there. But I don't really know how I could have got over to the beach. It would have been kind of a long trek to go. But if I were to actually go over there, I think there's like some area over there like you could have drove down over there, but I chose not to. You can see there's some people going over there, but if my mom would have went with me, I might would have, but we would not have had hardly any time to like actually get out into the beach and swim. And you can kind of see the ground there, how again, if you have some mobility issues, this may not have been the best area, because I think I almost tripped and fell here. And then also where the heart of Santorini was, the tour guide did actually almost slip and fall, and he was saying like, be careful. There I might would have really went and just dipped my toes in or done something, but I didn't feel like that was a bad move for me because I'm already clumsy, so going down a bunch of rocks like that was probably just would not end well with me. And there's that church. And then at this point we did get into the van again, and we just asked him to just go ahead and take us back. So at this point it was like 2:30-ish, I believe, and I'm very glad that we went ahead and told him like just go ahead and take us back to where we started, because the line for the cable car line was ridiculous. In a minute I'm going to show you how long the line was, and you'll see like everyone, I guess, from the different cruise ships, and I guess just visitors too, were there. And we did get lost going back to try to find the cable cars. We eventually found it. It took us about 30 minutes. We were just walking wherever. So this little clip with the fish, I'm about to tell you why I videoed it. So I'm a big Keeping Up with the Kardashians fan. I've watched that show for a very long time. And in one of the earlier seasons, they went to Santorini, and they actually had their feet pedicure done in one of those little fish tank things. I wasn't going to do that personally, but I just thought it was really cool because I was like, oh my goodness, I remember that from that episode. And this is the line. So I'm actually following this random girl. I don't know. But we figured out that this was the line, and you can just see because it keeps going and going and going and going. So I believe we got in line a little before 3 o'clock. And it was moving fairly fast, but for the amount of people that they had that needed to go back down, because we have like our all aboard time, this day I believe it was 7 or 7:30, but so we would have had plenty of time. But had we not went ahead and got in line, I'm not too sure that we would have made it back in time to be on board and on the ship. And the heat was actually making everything worse. We actually heard multiple reports of people who were passing out in line, passing out because people decided to walk down those steps or get a donkey or something. My mom actually did not stand in line with me. I told her to just go on because she didn't need to stand out in the heat. I knew if something were to happen with her, my grandmother probably would have killed both of us. And it wasn't a good idea for her to stand in the hot sun with me, so I made her go find a seat somewhere and get some Powerade and cool off. I did get another gelato. It wasn't quite as good as the first one, but we finally made it to this point at about 4:09, I believe. And once we finally got down, the cable car line was another mess. So because there were, I believe it was 3 cruise ships there were a mass amount of people who were in a small area, and because we were in such a small area, people were having to get on their tender boats. It was a mass confusion because no one knew where the Disney one was. No one knew where the other people were. We just tried to find some people who had like the Disney cruise merch on or something like that and tried to stick with them. Once we got down there, I believe we waited about 20 or 30 minutes getting on the tender, just to get on the tender to go back to the ship. So it was chaotic, honestly. It was very chaotic, and this is why we had said if we ever came back to Santorini, it would probably not be on a cruise ship. Like, if we came back, we would probably get off for a little bit, or maybe even do a Disney excursion or something, just to try to avoid this. Though I honestly don't think there's anything that you could truly do to avoid this, because even on the Disney excursions, they were given a little ticket, and that's how they were to get up and down this cable car thing, and that did not give them a ticket to go to the front of the line. It was just a ticket, a prepaid ticket, so you would still have to stand in line and everything. And you can see here the amount of people who was at the dock. Like I said, mass confusion, major confusion. No one knew what was going on. But we did eventually get to our boat. I'm not sure if this was a tender boat or what, but I thought it looked kind of cool, like a pirate ship or something, so I took a video of that. And there you can see the line continues on. And there's the poor little donkey taxis. And then we finally made it on the ship. I went to the very top of the tender boat. My mom decided not to join me, so I was up there by myself. It was a little hot up there, not gonna lie, but when we finally made it back to the boat, I was so happy. We made it back onto the boat around, I think it was like 5:09 or 5:06 or something. So from the time we got in line at the cable car entrance, from the time we got here, it took us 2 hours, which was crazy. Don't know how long that cable car line would have been, if we would have been better off waiting till after our tour, staying a little bit longer on the tour, or if we should have done what we done, because trying to get down that was just a big mess. But the views again were absolutely beautiful. You can see how the little trail was going up. You can see the flag. It was just really nice being up on the front too, because I finally got a big cool off from the wind and everything. I thought it was also cool getting to see the front of the ship and seeing Minnie Mouse in the front, and then just kind of getting to see like how truly big the ship is compared to like a smaller ship that we were on, and of course the Disney Dream sign. And when we got back on the ship, we had to get some pizza, and those chicken Caesar wraps were delicious. It was one of my favorite things, and we also got some ice cream. So you're pretty tired?
I can't sleep.
I'm gonna go light on the food tonight. If you say so. I ain't gonna get another baked potato plate. That didn't really look like Russell, did it? Look at the bird pant. How pretty. I think you can tell in that last clip how truly tired we were, but we had such a great day. And I took this because you can see that big tour bus traveling down that very long road, so I thought that was cool. So right now we are back in the room after a very, very long day in Santorini. We done our tour. It's too hot out there to sit out there. But we done our tour with, I think it was Thera Tours, but it was really good. It was 5 hours almost. We started at 9:30 and we got back in our room we got back in our room late. What time did we get back we got back to the place at like 2:30. We got lost trying to find the cable car. Took us 20 minutes to do that. Stood in line for the cable car for about an hour. We got in line at 2:56 and we got on, our feet finally touched the ground on the ship at like, what was it, 5 something? It was 5 o'clock. So the cable car line took an hour to get through, but what took longer was going down, getting off, standing in line just to get on the boat. The boat could have docked, but they were slow getting the people off, so that took a lot longer. What?
8 p.m. all aboard time.
I know, it's later. Tomorrow we're going to Mykonos, and I thought about doing it through Disney, going through the beach, because we're going to Solomar tomorrow. For 2 people, I think it's like $150. Through Disney, it's, what I say, $274 or $294 a person.
Yeah.
So we get the same thing for cheaper. So I think that answers our question. So we will be doing that. We've got laundry going right now, so we're about to go get that. And very tired, very burned. I guess that's all. We're about to go eat supper. Tonight it's at Royal Palace again, so that's on deck 3. I think I'm probably going to get the steak and lobster medallions. I would say today was a good day. Today was a pretty good day until we had to wait in the cable car. We had our own little van, Mercedes van with a little refrigerated water in it, so that was really nice. But getting back to the port, I looked down one time and I had sweat. My arm was wet, soaked with sweat. So it felt really nice to get back to the room. We didn't eat anything. We didn't eat any grease food except for some gelato, which was really good, the first one I got. Then I got another one while waiting in line, and I don't even think I took a picture of that. I just ate it. And then, of course, I had to get some ice cream when we got back and pizza because I was hungry. So,
Few souvenirs.
Yeah. I got a sweatshirt. Mama got a t-shirt. We got a little tiny glass church or pottery church from, it was a monastery, I think. But hey, I need to go get the laundry. Oop, I almost fell. I need to go get the laundry from there. But we're about to go eat supper, and we did not go and watch the juggler tonight. We didn't feel that necessary. But I think that's all for tonight, except for the food. And then it was time for dinner at Royal Palace. So I did end up getting the steak and lobster medallion. That was pretty good. I have no idea what I got for the appetizer. I'm about to show it. And the dessert, no idea. But I do know that it was all very good. I don't think there was a dish that I did not enjoy. So since we're nearing the end, you're going to see our towel animal in just a minute. And I just want to thank y'all for watching this far and seeing this. And I know this is a longer video, but Santorini was truly one of my favorite ports that we were at during the whole cruise. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and you will be able to see us in the next video. Of course, I did have to get that s'mores sundae, and then our towel animal for this night was a stingray. But anyways, thank y'all for watching, and we are going to see you next week in Mykonos.